What's up guys and welcome back to From the Attic. Recently I did something a little bit different for me. I decided to try out the alpha for Call of Duty Vanguard. As a lot of you know already, I'm not a big fan of multiplayer. In fact, I am what you would call a noob. Not to say that I'm bad, even though I'm clearly not the best, but my knowledge of that side of gaming is simply very limited. My relationship with Call of Duty can be summarized by two games, Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops. During my high school days, I did spend a lot of time in those multiplayer, but that's pretty much it. Vanguard did pique my interest though, simply because it takes place during World War II, which is by far my favorite time period for military games. So when I saw that there was a PlayStation exclusive alpha to try out, I figured, why not? I played for a couple of hours and I do have a lot of things to say about it. Keep in mind that alphas and betas are made specifically for feedback, so I am in fact going to focus a bit more on the problems I had with it and the improvements that could be made. So let's go. Before I start talking about the negatives, let me quickly go over the things I liked about the alpha. The gunplay looks and feels really good. The guns look great, the animations are clean, and the sound design is pretty solid for my taste. I know some people didn't like the weapon sounds, but I did, aside from the hit markers, which do sound a little bit weird. The controls are so intuitive, responsive, and the game keeps the same fast-paced arcadey combat that Call of Duty is known for. That being said, I might be hallucinating, but it did feel a little bit slower and more sluggish than past games. Overall, I did have fun with it. It's good, it has some pretty solid foundations, but it can be improved for sure. Nonetheless, I do see a lot of potential in Vanguard, and I wouldn't be surprised if I ended up enjoying the final product once all the issues have been resolved. But we're not here to praise the game, we're here to highlight potential improvements. After all, this is an alpha we're talking about. Some of the issues are most likely only limited to this current version of the game and have already started to get fixed by the developers, but other issues though are more related to actual game design decisions. First off, let me talk about the technical issues I had. Good lord, my internet connection has always been a little bit strange, but this was something else. During my first day of playing it, it was almost unplayable to the point where I wasn't even sure that I was going to make this video. It was a pretty unstable and laggy experience filled with all sorts of visual and audio glitches, as you can see right now. It was never a matter of lost connection or matchmaking, that part of it was usually fine. It was really once I got into the games that I started glitching out left and right. That being said, after tweaking some settings on my PS5, things got a lot better the next day. It was still a bit jittery at times, but overall it was significantly smoother. I've seen a lot of people play the alpha and not encounter the same kind of glaring issues I experienced during my first day, so my poor internet connection is most likely guilty here. Don't worry, I'll get it fixed before the beta. One thing that I think is pretty unanimous though is the mini-map. The main issue I found with the game's UI is that for some reason, when you activate a spy plane for example, enemies will be shown on your minimap, but when enemies fire their weapons, red dots appear on the compass instead. This leads to situations where your sight constantly alternates between these two UI elements while also trying to keep an eye on the game itself. To me, it's just super unpleasant. I simply don't understand the thought process behind this. It would be so much simpler to have a single corner of the screen to look at for all relevant information. I feel like this should at least be a choice for the player. Do you want the minimap, the compass, both? It should be completely up to you. Also, I feel like the map itself is currently too detailed, if that makes sense, and could be simplified. Next up, let's talk about the visuals. From a pure graphical standpoint, not gonna lie, I was a bit disappointed. Now, I know this is just the alpha and I've seen the campaign gameplay they revealed recently, so I know the game is going to look good in the end. But now it didn't feel next-gen at all. What also doesn't help is the map itself. Champion Hill is ugly. It's basically some kind of brown military training camp. Not only is it generally unpleasant to look at, but it also makes visibility somewhat of an issue. Everything blends together and sometimes it's very hard to see the enemies. The game does look much better if you turn off motion blur, but still I think there's room for improvement to make it much more visually appealing. Finally, let's talk about the game mode itself. Champion Hill is basically a tournament bracket where teams of 2 or 3 players with limited lives fight in minute-long matches. In between some of these matches, you will get what they call buy rounds, allowing you to buy weapons, perks, and upgrade your gear with money gained on the battlefield. Not gonna lie, at first I wasn't a big fan, mainly because I never really enjoyed modes featuring smaller teams, short matches, and limited lives. And well, this one has them all, but the more I played it, the more I started to enjoy it. Do I prefer classic team deathmatch and domination? Absolutely, but it's still a relatively fresh game mode in my opinion and a nice change of pace. I do think the matches are a bit too short and don't allow you to get into a certain flow, but overall I'd say it's not bad and it shows promises. Although I do see a couple of potential issues that could eventually arise. First, if people want to save lives during a match, they can easily camp out and wait for the game to be over. Yes, the incentive to collect money and extra lives should be enough to get you moving, but if you're against a team that has much more lives than you, I can see camping becoming a solution for some players. There's also a spawn kill problem right now, mainly in teams of 3. There's a bit too many destructible walls for my taste, and being able to make a comeback when you're short on lives can be almost impossible if the other team is jacked on perks, armor, and kill streaks. So there is some balancing work that needs to be done. In the end, I'd say that there's a lot of things that can be improved, but I can definitely see the potential. If the developers truly care and listen to the community, we could have a really solid shooter on our hands, one that can potentially make me invest time in a multiplayer, as crazy as it sounds. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, whether you're a lifelong Call of Duty player or a noob like myself. If you want to support the channel, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'd really appreciate it. That's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys really soon with my review of the expansion for Ghost of Tsushima.